This video is going to be less of a tutorial and more of a lesson on perseverance, the power of trial and error, and not giving up when you're learning a new thing. I woke up with this urge to learn how to make an ocarina or a whistle out of clay, and I dove right in after looking at a single blog post with step-by-step how to do it. And I thought, all right, we'll see if I can just whip one out. So this was my first attempt. The clay that I was using, it's a little bit older, so it's a little bit dry and tough to work with to start out. But I started out by making this hollow shape, which is funny because it's the first thing that I ever learned in my clay class that I took, was how to do that. And that day he did show us a whistle that he had made. And I said, I want to learn how to make that. How do I do that? And he said, it's hard and is not a first day lesson. So here I am over a year later, diving in and trying to teach and figure out myself how to make an ocarina. So the first tutorial that I read said to sand down a popsicle stick to a 45-degree angle and just use 2 popsicle sticks to make the windway and the little vent hole that makes the sound. And I didn't have any popsicle sticks. I have an art studio full of amazing things, but no popsicle sticks. They're not really a thing that I ever work with. And so I had these cool tools that I got at ClayCon West from Sim. And I was like, well, they're straight and they're wide like a popsicle stick, so maybe I can make it work. And long story short, this first ocarina completely failed, and I couldn't get it. So I started diving into more videos, and I watched a guy make an ocarina make a beautiful sound using the back of 2 forks. And I was like, if this guy just did it with 2 forks, I can do it with my beautiful tools that I got at a clay conference, right? So at that point, I had determined that it was not my difference in tools that was keeping me from making the sound. So I decided that it must have been the form. So I started in making this new one. I made the walls of the hollow shape a lot thinner, and I made the mouthpiece a lot smaller because I determined that the holes that I were cutting needed to be closer to the bottom so that the vent could be much more delicate. With the first one, the walls were so thick that there was no ability to make a delicate like vent. And so I went back in and made everything thinner and tried again. The other issue that I determined I was having on my first 3 tries was that my clay was too soft. I hadn't given it time to harden very much. And so when I was trying to cut that very delicate 45-degree angle to make the sound, it was just completely mushing up. I did it! I did it! I did it!
Wait, do it again, do it again, do it again. Do it again. It sounds good.
I did it!
Now just make a bunch of holes.
It was so hard, I did it. So I actually made this piece and then I left and went grocery shopping. I just stuck it under a Tupperware container so it wouldn't completely crack. And so I worked with it leather hard. I determined that I needed to make the walls thinner, and I made the windway much lower, closer to the flat side, so that my vent could be as delicate as possible. So then I went on to add the holes, and I only had this one size hole punch. The other one that I had was way too big for how small I made my ocarina. So I did 4 holes that were the same size, and when I added the 4th one, it stopped sounding completely. So I started filling them back in. I filled in the 4th one first. I tried it again. With the 3rd one, the sound was wavering, and so I decided to end up with just 2 holes. So once I made the sound and I added the holes, then I decided that it was time to give my ocarina some character. And this really came from my daughter's obsession with this Pokemon. He's her favorite one because he's just like a, a little wallowing mud guy. And he's like the same color of the clay as I'm working with it. And so I thought, I have to do the silly thing to make my kids laugh. And so I started building on his 4 chubby little legs, and then he has like a little fin on his back and his mouth and his eyes. And so it was a pretty simple little build because I allowed the Ocarina to get leather hard. So I was able to work onto it because it was hardened without mushing it up or ruining anything. So this little guy was my third or fourth try. I scrapped multiple attempts at the ocarina before I got this one. And the thing is trying over and over and over, like the way that I did, one after another with a snack in between, it gave me the immediate, okay, let me try something different. I think I was having trouble with this thing, so I'm going to do it a different way on my next try. And so that bag right there on the back of my desk is completely full of all of my failed attempts. Of course, the trick now will be making another one and seeing if I can easily replicate it and create the sound and see if the things that I figured out were actually what made it work. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.